name is Frances.
I'm John.
And we're delighted to be supporting the Festival Ideas at the University of Hertfordshire. John and I have worked together for over 40 years. It's a long time. And we've done things together and we've done things separately.
What do I say now? This is of course done in case anyone sees this in 50 years' time. This is done in 2020 during lockdown. So this is a homemade. We were meant to be interviewed live for this, but
so much easier.
So we're going to make it up as we go along. 40 years is a long time. There's too much to talk about. So we thought we'd focus on one big idea, which came really quite a long time ago, where we're still running our design business, and we're working very hard on that. But we talked a lot about one day being able to set up an educational charity. Our charity that we set up in about 1999, called the Sorrell Foundation, started off originally looking at lots of other projects, things like joined up design for schools.
The idea was really, really simple. We wanted to do a project in schools for young people, but we didn't want to force them to do it. And we'd done lots of competitions and various things when we'd had our design business, but we wanted to engage them in a way by invitation. So they weren't forced. So we went into schools, we went to see the head teacher and said, could you form a team of kids? And they'll be our clients, they'll be like clients. And then we asked them if they'd like to improve something in their school through design. And then we introduced them to great designers, great architects, all sorts of different people to solve their design problems.
The youngest children in the projects were 4 years old and the eldest was school leaving age. So it's the full range. The first thing we did was hold workshops with them to try and work out what project they'd like to do. Well, what you need to have for a designer to address it is a brief. So what we had to do with the young people is explain what a brief is. What is a brief? We were used in our design business to getting briefs from clients, often 20 pages, 30 pages of close typed lettering. Fine, okay. So I suppose rather naively, I thought the kids would start writing briefs. Of course they didn't do that. In all our careers, we have never ever had a client write a play and perform their brief for us. So you sit there and they get up on stage, they've made props and costumes and they perform their brief. It's unbelievable. The kids were desperate for people to understand what the problem was. So they went to extreme lengths to communicate it. Lots of the kids wanted to do projects to do with lunchtime. You know, the simple fact, when we were doing this project, we discovered that most schools at lunchtime took everyone outside and queued them up around the school and then brought them back into the dining hall. Working with the young people, they created the most amazing briefs for how to make lunchtime what they wanted it to be, a civilized lunchtime where they can be with their friends and talk to them. And they didn't want to be rushed and herded like cattle. They didn't want to be harassed. They wanted to have an enjoyable, quiet lunchtime where they could talk to their friends.
And they wanted a safe place to sit if their friends went there that day, so they didn't feel kind of isolated and embarrassed to be on their own.
And also, to put it frankly, that's where a lot of bullying happens when you're on your own at lunchtime. This project actually went deeply into the kind of social issues of being a school child, you know, whether you're 5 or 6 years old or 15 or 16 years old. This was a big learning curve for us. We'd never seen it before.
But it was also a learning curve for the teachers, because we asked them to not try and control the young people and to leave them to us. They learned a lot from the young people because they were learning things about what the experience of school was like for their pupils.
This was the magic of the people who are going to be affected by the design actually creating and then owning the brief. And actually what developed was this fantastic relationship where they would go with the architect to places that were relevant to their project. So if we were doing lunchtime dining facilities, they would go to a lot of restaurants, but they'd go to fast food restaurants.
We published all the findings of what the young people told us, and we published the results. A lot of architects have adopted it as their way of designing things. So it's happened in lots of different cases in museums and in schools. And now schools are winning awards for the quality of their design. And so we're so delighted about it. So that model, out of that, is how we have then continued working with young people.
We're both very, very interested in education. And I'll tell you why. So when I was 14 years old, my art teacher came up to me and said, "You like art, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Would you like to go to Saturday classes at Hornsey College of Art," which was my local art school in North London? I said, yes. I went along for the first time, and I walked through the door, and I smelt oil paint. Everyone was unbelievably friendly. People were incredibly relaxed. I did the class, and I was in love with it straight away. And to cut a long story short, in those days, you could actually go full-time at 16, and I went at 16. I left when I was 19. It was before degrees. So I got a National Diploma of Design, and I started my first business when I was 19. Without that break I had, going to Saturday classes at Hornsey, my life would have been completely different.
I went at 14 to the local classes. It was all just life drawing at Epsom College of Art, which is now the University of the Creative Arts. And it was an instant love affair. And so then I went straight on and I joined the art school, and then I left when I was 19, and then I became an illustrator. And then John and I met, and then we started a business. So that's how it all started. But without that break, I don't know what would have happened.
This idea, which I would love to say is my idea, this idea is actually government initiative. And what they were worried about was the fact that the quality of design of products and things which Britain was creating after the war was not good enough to compete in world markets. And they thought, we've got to restock the art schools with kids who might go along on a Saturday, try it out, like it, and then go full time. And they will then go into the design sector and restock the design sector and grade up. Well, today there's a thing called the creative industries, which is actually the thing which came out of all that, which is worth an enormous amount of money to the UK economy.
So we've designed a Saturday club, which is a slightly different thing because it's more about people who share an interest and enthusiasm. So the first club we started was art and design because that's our background. But we've added to that. The art and design is really strong, very, very strong. There's a wonderful art and design Saturday club at the University of Hertfordshire. They're focusing this year on mostly digital games. And that's fantastic. It's run by a guy called Nick Thomas, and congratulations to him. But as we progressed doing the Saturday Club, we realised we could add other subjects. And in particular, the first one was science and engineering, because a lot of our friends, people like Thomas Heatherwick and architects and designers, they're very, very broad in their discipline. Things like engineering is creative thinking. Things like science can be creative. You need your maths, but you can also be highly creative in what you do. And if you think laterally, you will come up with some great solutions to world problems. So art and design, science and engineering, we've added fashion and business. We've got friends, the Fashion Council. We've also added writing and talking, because if you can write your ideas down and express your ideas, then you've got much more chance of succeeding with them. So we're investing all our energies in tomorrow's ideas generators. And that's the big thing, really, is to try and get what's great for the country, but it's great for the world. And it's great to solve social problems if we've got people who can think creatively. And it's not to say that we're saying school's no good, but it's a complementary. It works outside the school system. But it also exercises a different part of your brain, because at school, you're fed information. The club is offering discovery, which is a slightly different thing. And you've got time to experiment, you've got time to make mistakes, and that's the lovely thing. And you make friends, which increasingly in school isn't all that easy. And a lot of the kids who attend Saturday clubs have dropped out of school for various reasons. And so it becomes something very important to them. So that's our great passion.
Francis has got this wonderful phrase, which is, get them to have a look in the kitchen to see if they like what's cooking. And I think that describes it brilliantly. But the idea is that, so they're nudged, they go along, they try it out. They might actually be told about it by someone who's actually going to them. That often happens. And they say, I'm going to this great thing, why don't you come try it? So it's a kind of, someone just said to us, actually, you haven't got a club, you've got a national movement. And it's a movement that's been gathering pace all the time. We've got clubs all over the country now. The great thing, it is national, but it's also very local and it's very social. What I would say to a young person if they said, well, tell me, why I should go, and I'd say, well, first of all, it's free.
It's important.
And there's not many things that are free these days. So that doesn't exclude anybody. The second thing is that the other thing is there's no tests or exams. And that's completely deliberate. And that's because all these children are tested and examined all the time at school. And we don't think that's necessary on Saturdays. And people say, well, how do you assess them? We say they're actually being assessed all the time by themselves, their tutors and their peers. Then we'd also say to someone who's thinking about it, you don't go to school to do this, you go to your local uni or your local college, or perhaps an art gallery, or it might even be a company that's an educational business which is able to do this. But the idea is the environment you go to is different. If it's a uni or a college, they've got unbelievable facilities like you've never seen before at school. They've got tutors who during the week are often teaching young people who are doing degrees. And you've got students who come on Saturdays to act as assistants to work with because they care so much. And most young people will give it a go. They'll go and try it out. If everybody's lucky, they will meet other people there who are very like them. Nobody goes along to do something on a Saturday if they don't like the subject. You don't. If you absolutely hate football, you do not rush to get your boots on and go to the local park and play football on Saturday morning when you could be doing something else. So all the young people who go along are interested in one of these subjects Francis has described. And they will meet, everybody who's there will also be interested in that subject. So you've got a group of like-minded people. They go along every Saturday during the formal school year. So it's 30 weeks of the higher education academic year. So it's essentially up to 30 Saturdays. If you do every single one, that's a lot of extra hours under your belt in learning skills in something. Every single program is absolutely crafted as a piece of extraordinary work by the tutors with their student assistants. We then do 3 very specific things during the year to add to that, which is we start the year, usually in November in the academic year, with inviting everyone for a visit to London. And the idea of that is, one, a lot of people have never been to London. Secondly, they're all going to gather together and meet each other in one place. And thirdly, they all go off and visit galleries and museums. Last November, we did the visit to London at City Hall, and the main host was the mayor. All the young people came there and they had some lovely welcome speeches. We always ask everyone to do self-portraits. They can draw, paint, make a model, whatever they like, send them in, and we have an exhibition of all their self-portraits. So on day one, when they arrive, they are up on the wall. So you're immediately, bang, exhibited. So you're famous. The great thing about this is that they come from absolutely every kind of background you can imagine. And for many of these children, it's the first time they've actually been in a space where they've got so many people from so many different backgrounds.
Somewhere between Christmas and Easter, there's a masterclass. And each masterclass is given by someone who's absolutely at the top of their game. It's been wonderful over the last few years. We've had so many amazing masterclasses. So this year, we've had Adobe doing a masterclass. We've had a masterclass at Tate Exchange with an enormous amount of young people working with structural engineers and architects to create models in a public space, so the public have been viewing them at work. We've had Alexandra McQueen, and we've had Anthony Gormley just making an online masterclass because of the lockdown, and many others. So it's been an amazingly rich year, but every year is magic year. And by meeting people who are professional, young people then, they see them as role models. And we've had a number of cases where people have been to a masterclass and thought, that's what I want to do when I grow up. So suddenly they've got an idea of what they might do in the future. They've got something to drive them. And we've had cases where people have been to a masterclass, fallen in love with the company, not only with the idea of the job, and then stalked the company, got a placement there, gone to college, come back and then working for that company. So, you can go full circle. And then the third term, which is what we're effectively in now, there's a summer show. Traditionally, it's always been in Somerset House. For 10 years, we've had it in Somerset House. and they were going to give us an incredible East Wing, which is the most prestigious part of Somerset House. But we're going online. This year, the summer show will be, and I will tell everybody, it's on the 18th of July at 12 noon. So do log on to the Saturday Club website and you will see the amazing work that's happened, both in class and in lockdown, because the thing about the Saturday Club is it's gone online and the tutors have been producing fantastic projects for people to do, not just the Saturday Club kids, but anybody who's interested in logging on. So there's some brilliant ideas there.
That was a good plug. Very good.
It has to be done.
Well
it has to be done.
And for the future.
And for the future, yeah.
Future ideas.
Yeah.
Well, Francis has been talking about the fact that, you know, we're doing this this thing during the pandemic. It's 2020. Things will change. You know, hopefully things will come back to normal sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, we've learned a valuable lesson by having to do the Saturday Club online. You know, we've learned that we can actually develop a whole new dimension to the Saturday Club. And one of the things I believe enormously is that great creativity, and if you like, great ideas, very often come out of adversity. Yeah. And we see it so often over history. And, you know, ideas are so important to the future of every single person on the planet. And the people who will be taking part in the Festival of Ideas, I believe, will be some of the people who create those ideas and then put them into practice. That will change the world.
I'd just like to thank the University of Hertfordshire and Phil Healy for inviting us to be part of the Festival of Ideas. We think it's a brilliant idea. And don't forget to tune in to the National Saturday Club's website on the 18th of July at 12 o'clock to see our summer show open. That'll be lovely. Thank you.
And thanks from me as well. Festival Ideas, brilliant. Congratulations. I hope everyone enjoys it. Have a great time. Thank you.